vdo.ninja. This is previously named OBS.ninja, but I think they were asked not to use the OBS name. Oh no, we were muted. Yeah. Yeah.
This is why we need Gwen to teach us how to do it.
Yes. The unfortunate fact is that you haven't learned either.
Yeah, this is, and to add to that, I was also muted when I just described myself as being muted. So let me, I think we should all be coming through now. But if you want to maybe just back up and reintroduce and walk us through this again. So apologies all, but yes, this is my first time driving and I haven't muted.
Yeah, so today's topic is how to drive our stream, which is why it's very complicated, why I had to pass it off. So basically I gave Ramsey sort of a copy of what I had already set up, and it is his first time driving it for real. And then I'm going to be walking through essentially setting it up from scratch to hopefully get like a deeper understanding to both of you and our audience. So the two main softwares that we use are OBS Studio, which is sort of your Twitch streamer's favorite tool for getting pixels out to Twitch. It also works with YouTube and Owncast and pretty much any other streaming software ever built. I'm not going to be talking about the like fundamentals of OBS. I figure there's probably a million tutorials out there for that. And I think definitely Ramsey, maybe a little bit Andy. I actually don't know if you're familiar with OBS Studio.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Okay. Well, we won't be getting any crazy OBS stuff. Basically just adding a bunch of sources. But I'm not going to sit here and like step through the menus and explain how to set up streaming and stuff like that. We're going to be focusing on how we actually get this sort of like how we make what is, for the three of us, basically a Zoom call look like something a little more formal than a Zoom call when it hits YouTube. So the first, like I said, the first software is OBS Studio. That's this one we're looking at on the screen right now. The other one is a website, actually. It's called vdo.ninja. It previously was referred to as OBS Ninja, but they changed the name. I'm not exactly sure why, but they did. What Video Ninja does is basically it like glues lots of laptops together and sort of orchestrates moving that data around into one OBS session, right? So this is what lets, the three of us in three different apartments on three different laptops send our webcam feeds to one person, in this case, Ramsey, who is then sending it out to YouTube, right? Which has the advantage that like there's a single operator, there's someone who's actually looking at this, there's like, some actual level of control. Whereas with like, we're just screencasting a Zoom call, it's like, well, there's a lot of chaos in there. And it lets you do, if you want to get fancy, you can like, make nice transitions and scenes and go as far as you want. So to start, I'm going to start in VDO Ninja. Basically, when you go to the website, this is what you get. You can do a handful of things. I've pretty much always used create a room. I'm going to click a random one because we don't really care. You could set this, right? And so for ours, it's like set to some specific thing. And then there's some other like settings and stuff. We don't have to go too deep into any of those. The big one is this green button opens the control center, which is sort of like a director view. And this button just joins as a participant. If you literally just wanted to use this as a Zoom call, you could do that. It works shockingly well for like open source Zoom calls. But so that's what video is doing. We're going to enter the control room and we're met with this screen. This is right now very empty. And so what we're going to do is basically like over here, you have like invite a guest, right? And so we're going to start with that. If you copy this link and open it up over here, now I'm doing this twice. So I'm kind of pretending to be both the director and the participant, but we're going to be the participant in this tab and the director in that tab for now. So I can join with camera and allow, and should load up. And we're looking at a cute whoopsie stuffy because my laptop is tilted the wrong way. But that's kind of fine because it'll help clarify what's going on where. So this is, sort of one person in the room, right? If we come over here, you can see, okay, we now have one participant. There's a whole bunch of settings in here, right? You can turn a participant's video off or on without them. You can mute them right from the control panel. You can do some other stuff. You can like message them actually. You can like send text messages, right? And so that person will see text messages from the director. So if like you want to subtly cue someone like, hey, you're going up next or something, you can do that. There's also some really deep stuff. Like you can get into like controlling what video codec they have, and you can force their client to send a keyframe. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but like the video moshing effect where it's like a freeze frame and then there's just motion, like things are just moving that one frame around. You can force them to send a new keyframe to fix that, right? From the director's seat, right? Yeah. So it's the whole point is to like be able as the director to like fix stuff that's going wrong on the client side. Because like it has a whole like WebRTC backend, so it can like control the clients as well. That said, I would say maybe don't click on random vdo.ninja links for people you don't trust, but I don't know. I bet there's some security flaws in there somewhere. But yeah, you can get into tricky stuff like all the audio settings and all of that. The other trick is that when you customize this link, you can add like specific stuff. You can be like, all right, well, this client's going to be in pro audio mode, right? Which means they're like using like higher bitrate codecs and like a little bit different settings than like this is a Zoom call and it just needs to catch someone's voice. You can tell them like auto select the default microphone, right? Because if you've got a grandma in there who doesn't know how to select a microphone, you might want to control which microphone they're using. And lots of other stuff. And this all just goes in, it all just, if you see up here, it just gets tacked into the URL as like URL parameters, right? And the other thing is that the URLs are reasonably stable, right? If you join the room with this one, you'll still join this room, even if we all close it and all come back. That sort of like room equals the flower J is a like unique identifier for our session. And then if we come over here, you can actually see one extra unique identifier, which is the push equals A5 whatever. I should not click and drag that, but stay on page. Thank you. This is the unique identifier for a particular participant, right? And so that is going to come back later when we want to pull these into OBS. That's how we're going to tell OBS which participant belongs in each video thing. Sorry, I couldn't blank there. Just for the sake of it, I'm going to open a second one. And hopefully this doesn't melt my computer. You can join with a screen share exclusively if you like don't want a webcam attached to it. You don't have to be on a webcam to screen share. For this, I've got like some random colors open. So we've got just a big magenta thing, and you can see they both have the call, right? And if we come in the control room, you can see two people, one with the webcam and one with the sort of magenta screen share. The one trick that is nice if you don't want to do any complicated stuff is this capture a group scene. So like this big one over here will just automatically put everybody in a Zoom call no matter how many people join. So if you do actually just kind of want to screen share a Zoom call and you don't want to use Zoom, this is like a decent way to do that. And it means that you're not using Zoom, but B, you still have some control over the participants. You can like fix participants' videos, fix their audio for them, which you can't do on Zoom, right? You can't like in a Zoom, even if you're the director of the Zoom, if I understand, you can't like tell them to fix, like correct their microphone settings for them, whereas in this you can. So like this is sort of the most basic version of it. If you do just want to broadcast a Zoom call, this works. You could like plug this into OBS and send it wholesale to YouTube or whatever. But for the sake of this demo, I'm not going to show that. I'm going to show like doing it sort of a more fancy way. But I am going to close the one that's screen sharing so my laptop's graphics card doesn't melt. So for now, we'll have one participant. Oh, it's reminding me that I sent a text message to myself. So yeah, that's kind of the like basics for Video Ninja. There's not anything crazier. There's some options like, do you want the director to be in the call or not, right? You can turn that on if you do and off if you don't, right? Sometimes you have somebody who's like not really participating and just driving. Like if it was like you know, a more professional, like, okay, these two people are giving like a lecture about doing something, and they have one person who's just doing the technical production for them. That person doesn't need to be visible in the call, right? So yeah, there's lots of settings in here. Most of them are not that critical. The UI, I mean, it looks like an open source UI, but it's very effective. If you're willing to like dive through menus, there's settings for almost everything in here. But yeah, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get this video, the Moopsie camera video in to OBS. Sorry, one more trick I'm going to show first. Up here, there's a little add a label, and you can add a label to that thing, right? And that will stay labeled, and also it will update that person's link, right? And it's not like it doesn't do anything, but it makes it so much easier to remember who is who. And that's why Ramsey and Andy, like you have one that says like Ramsey's camera, Andy's camera, and they keep your name attached to them because it's in that link. So it's mostly just an organizational thing, but it really, really helps when you have a lot of stuff going on. I like the first use case of this I ever had was running like early pandemic lockdown streams with LiveCode NYC. And so we would have like two people come in, one with a screen share, one with an audio, with a screen share that really needed its audio, and no webcams. And then like those two people would leave, two more would come in, two more would leave, two more would come in. And so having those stable links with labels made a whole difference because I could set up the whole show in advance, tech check them separately, like on different days. It didn't actually matter if they were all there all at once. And then just run the show when it was doing it. And like, I think we had like 10-second turnarounds at some point in that show, which is like entirely unprecedented for any kind of music production. Like you can't do that in a venue, right? Like there's no way you're getting people on and off a stage that fast. But because it's like, okay, well, we'll have the next act, like we're going to start texting them like 10 minutes before, be like, hey, get on the call right now. OBS doesn't change anything because the links are stable. And then eventually we'd be like, okay, well, everybody's on now. And so we'll shuffle to the next one, right? And so it's just as easy as switching scenes. But yeah, let's do OBS. So when you come down here, I'm going to close or attempt to close some of these extra options right now. Okay, so this is sort of like what it normally looks like. Down here, you can see copy solo view link. If I put this in a browser, you can see what it's doing. It's still Video Ninja view. This ID will match that ID, right? So A5F, et cetera, et cetera. This matches A5F, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's how it knows which video we're trying to play, right? And so if I just put this in a browser, it's like, yeah, here's the webcam video. It's the same one. But if I come into OBS, I can come in here in sources. You can add a browser. If you're on Arch Linux, you would have to compile OBS from source. Ramsey and I both use Arch Linux. And so we both had this problem. I'm demoing from Windows because it's so much easier to just demo from Windows.
I have my OBS compiled.
Yeah.
It does in fact work.
It worked. It worked. I didn't even have to like work to compile it. It just compiled. I was shocked.
It's a couple hours.
But
it's like an hour though. Yeah.
It takes a long time, and every time I try to update my system, it takes an hour. So when I have to do this, just use Windows. But regardless, you're going to come into OBS, right? You're going to add a browser source. If you don't see that and you happen to be on Arch Linux, that's probably why. I think any recent in the last 4 or 5 years version of OBS has browsers built by default, including like Ubuntu and a lot of the bigger Linux distros. It's just Arch that's weird. So you will add that link. I'm sorry, this is just a name. We'll get to the link in a second. Moopsicam. Right now, you can see this is the default URL. It's just like, hey, you added a browser source. Good luck. Good job. We're going to change that to be this one. The other really important things to set is the width and height. Most webcams are 720p, so you probably want to set this to 1280 by 720. If you are pulling screen shares, if you're pulling something else, you're going to have to suss out what the resolution is, or it's going to be kind of squished weird. You might want to set this lower if you're streaming a lot of things. You might think, okay, well, we don't need to show like this webcam in super perfect resolution. We're happy with cutting that in half just to save some bandwidth. Because the bandwidth is sort of moving from your laptop directly to my laptop in this. There's not like a server in between. So if my laptop is collecting dozens of videos, then I'm going to start adding up the bandwidth very, very quickly. The last trick, and this one is actually pretty important, is to click Control Audio via OBS. I can demo this in a second, will let you control the audio for that person in OBS rather than having to do it in the control thing. So if we do this, you can see here's Moopsicam, there's the feed. You could see me because it's just a microphone sitting on my desk. You can see the audio over there and the video in real time. And like I can go reach my hand and sort of prove there's nothing up my sleeve. Yeah, so controlling the audio via OBS is important because if you don't, it will just like play in the background of your system. It won't like actually go into OBS. If you have a like by default, I think it shows, or there's a way to get your desktop audio in OBS, right? To like record your desktop's audio. So if you're just doing like that sort of big Zoom call thing and you don't really care that much, you could get away with it. But personally, like if you're going to the trouble of adding people individually, you definitely want to control their audio individually too. If you couldn't do that for whatever reason, you can control people's audio in the vdo.ninja setup, right? I find that to be a little clunkier. It's just like one extra step, but you can do it. But yeah, like I said, I greatly prefer to just do it in OBS. And it means you have their entire audio processing set up. If you want to put a compressor on somebody, you can.
So like what I flubbed at the start of this stream was in OBS, I had all the mixers were all muted in the scene. Yeah. So that's where I messed up.
Yeah, and that might have been that like I had tweaked it or something and exported it that way. Because like I said, for the audience at home, I saved sort of my whole OBS setup and gave it to Ramsey wholesale, which means I also gave Ramsey any mistakes I may have made. And so if I had like muted it and done some funny nonsense with the audio or whatever, I remember the last time I had a little trouble with the audio, and so there might have been something that was a little weird. They shouldn't be muted by default, but like I said, I probably gave it to you broken. But yeah, so that's it. And then so the way OBS works is like you have these video sources and you can like place them within sort of the like canvas, and then that's what's going to go to YouTube, right? And so with just one, it's not that compelling. You could add other stuff like color sources, right? This is going to be huge, but you can add other videos in here. This could be like somebody else's video. Just for the sake of showing it again, I'm going to like join a second time. So I'm going to copy this link. We're going to come in here. I'll join with a screen share. We'll do magenta again. Okay, so we now have 2 participants in here. And that one's just showing up now. And then I can copy that solo link and add a second browser. So we're going to add browser. This one is definitely going to be a weird resolution because it's a screen share. And I'm going to control the audio via OBS, even though there's no sound in it. But just for the sake of completion, yeah. So now we have 2 in here. This could be like a different participant. This could be on a separate laptop. This could be somewhere else entirely. And crucially, for like the person using that, like once they're in the call and you have it working for them, you can tell them like bookmark that link, right? Just copy that link, put it somewhere. You can save it for yourself too, right? When I set this up the first time, I like joined as all 3 of us, saved all of those links and wrote them down, just labeled like Andy used this one, Ramsey used this one, Glenn used that one, and they all work. Because this link is like essentially stable across sessions, right? It's got the 2 unique identifiers, and then as long as they always match, it'll come right into OBS every time, no matter how much you restart stuff. So yeah, that's like sort of the core components of it, is that like vdo.ninja is using WebRTC to like move the video around, and then you use OBS to sort of like compose it and do the production. And then when you're ready, you would like send this off to YouTube or Twitch or what have you, or you could record it if you're very inclined.
So it's basically assigning a unique URL to a stable URL, a URL that's stable across sessions, even to participants.
To each participant, including their like screen shares, right? So like if the Moopsy cam comes in and does a screen share, I'm not gonna, actually I could probably get away with it. Let's find out. So like if this user also wanted to do a screen share, right? You don't have to do 2 tabs, you can do 2. And in the control room, you can see that came in as its own stable thing too. But that's stable relative to that user's initial one, right? So like if the Moopsy user kills this, right? It's gone, or it'll be gone in a second. It'll be gone in a second. Don't make a liar of me. vdo.ninja.
It's just, you know, it's going to recycle those resources when it needs them.
Yeah, it would be gone, you know, it would eventually go away. And then if this user comes back and screen shares again, that will still have the same ID, right? So like if you, Ramsey, joined with your link and then start screen sharing, it doesn't matter that you didn't have a special link just for your screen share. It remembers, it's like, okay, yeah, we're going to tie these 2, or maybe it's doing some fancy math to like it like hash your current ID or something. I don't really know how it works, to be honest.
But it's stable is the key thing.
But it's stable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's stable. And so that means you have the ability to sort of like build around those links being correct.
And that's what they're leaning on in place of like accounts or like, you know, signing up for a service or some horse shit like that.
Exactly. And to that end, if somebody just like on the stream, please don't do this. If somebody just tried to join with this link, they could, right? And that's why when you start, it gives you the option to add a password, which we do on our actual one that's going out straight to YouTube or whatever. Right, you can add a password right here. And so if you're doing a stream where there's like any chance that like your browser's just going to get seen, right? If you're screen sharing at all, you probably want to do that, especially if you're like big enough to have people actually watching your Twitch. But like for the Tech Cooperative, I'm not that concerned. Sort of just a good practice. but again, so this is another sort of advantage of like actually arranging it in OBS is like, yeah, someone can join the room, but like if you've manually added all 4 people to OBS, they can join the room and yell at you, but like that won't actually make it to stream. It's just gonna be really annoying for the participants, and everybody's gonna be like, what are they yelling about? What's happening? But if you were using that sort of like just a big Zoom call, like automatic scene mode, that would be a potential risk. I think there's like some interesting complicated ways to like do multiple scenes where you could have like 2 of those Zoom calls or something that like have different subsets of the participants. I cannot imagine why anybody would need that, but it's an option.
But those are like mitigations around like Zoom bombing basically, and having OBS,
exactly.
a manually configured OBS scene is a way,
is a pretty sure shot. And having a strong password is also a very secure strategy.
Almost always a good idea.
Almost always a good idea. Rarely have I regretted it. Yeah, I think that's kind of the bulk of it. I mean, so some other like OBS tricks you can do is you can have more than one scene, and so like you know, in this one maybe you want both the screen share and the camera, but maybe in the other scene you only want the camera, like if it's sort of like detailed text and you want the users to be able to see the text. It's usually worth copying. You can copy that browser tab and then paste it as a reference in OBS, which means it's not re-rendering the browser. It's just taking the pixels in video memory and shuffling them around correctly.
That's really interesting. And I imagine changing the settings on one source will be seen by all the other references.
So if I come in here and set the properties, and I don't know what to set the properties to, but you could change the properties in here. And that's like, so like when we start our stream, I'm usually like, oh, who's screencasting today? Let me copy that link in ahead of time, like we did this afternoon, Ramsey. And it works in both scenes, right? You don't have to manually fix each one.
And we use multiple scenes to bring in the webcams,
fade in between webcams and no webcams and title cards.
So like what I'm doing on my end is I'm watching in OBS, and if Gwen is ever doing any work towards the bottom of the screen, I'll try and like fade out the cameras and then fade them back in when it feels right. But that and then the timing of that starts to get into like broadcast engineering is a career, and you can actually be a professional at that. But
you can be a professional at that.
It's kind of vibes over here. But
even if you're not a professional, just doing it at all makes a massive difference over just a Zoom call. There's the other trick is that if you do say like, oh well, I only want the screen share in here, you're gonna want, so if you look at my screen, you'll notice there's only the audio for that screen share. I made this mistake on our first skill share. I didn't copy the Moopsy camera, which has my like microphone over there, so you just couldn't hear anybody, right? So you actually would need to like copy this, paste it in over here, right? Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. Don't want that. Copy that one. Copy. Paste. And then like move it off screen or something, I think is what I did. There might be a way to do it audio only. There's probably a way to do it audio only, but I don't happen to know. I think with like, if this was a real camera attached to my computer, then I could pull in the audio separately as an audio source, right? Because like when you add like audio input capture, right, you've got a selection of microphones, right? And so like if there's a microphone in your system, you can just catch that and not the video, even if it's a webcam. But for the browser, that doesn't work because it's all rendering in one page. So if you were setting this up, you would want to make sure like, all right, well, we need a like big screen share mode with no video. You got to make sure the video sort of elements, those sources are in there just to keep the audio working. And the other nice thing is that like, if you copy the, I'm going to delete this because it's going to get really confusing. If you copy these, the audio settings also work, right? So you don't have to duplicate like audio levels for everybody.
Yeah, because the references, that's actually really interesting. So if I like pull my gain down in this scene, so I should be a little quieter now, and I pop over here, yeah, the audio like persists because that's actually the same video source.
It's like, yeah, they're linked.
Yeah,
and this is like, that's just OBS stuff. That's like OBS being good software, and like vdo.ninja just sort of added this one crazy feature that like it couldn't possibly do from inside of OBS. Because you need like a server that will do like matchmaking and routing and all of that. But once it's there, you can just use the normal features of OBS sort of the way you expect it to. If you want to do different kinds of transitions, if you want to do as much crazy nonsense as you want, you can just do it.
Yeah, like throw in like VSTs to process your audio, and like other
run arbitrary
stuff.
shaders on your radios.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe that's not the most productive, but you can do it if you want to make some weird art.
Is there anything server side on vdo.ninja running, or is it all just?
I don't know a lot about vdo.ninja. I believe it's open source. I think it's open source. If I understand correctly, the video transfer is mostly point to point. There might be doing some like stun turn thing, which I remember learning about a long time ago and not remembering how it works.
The only person we know personally that has successfully implemented RTC from scratch worked on the RTC implementation at Chrome. So
yeah,
that's my perception of that technology stack.
It's a very effective way to learn how to operate it.
You got it.
To implement it yourself.
To make it. Oh, it is. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
This is their thing, and yeah, AGPL v3 even. It's not even like flat GPL or MIT. They're like, no, don't you dare make any money running this server. Oh, you love to see it. Love to see a little fun anti-big tech license in some software. But yeah, they have like documentation if you wanted to run this yourself. If for whatever reason you don't want to just use the one that's running, you could run it yourself. I haven't tried it. It sounds a little scary, but I bet it's probably pretty doable.
Yeah, we self-host just about everything, but we do use the vdo.ninja, just the public URL.
I mean, it seems fine. Again, the video's mostly going point to point, and even if it's not, I'd be shocked if they have the compute resources to do anything that evil with it.
That's why I think it's what you said. I think it's just probably the stun turn handshake, and then everything else is peer-to-peer. Otherwise, this thing. Otherwise, you're basically running a Twitch competitor.
Which no one wants to do.
Yeah, and you're not really pulling in Twitch money with this one.
No, I don't think they're pulling in any money with this one. Maybe they have a Patreon somewhere. Like,
I don't think anyone is pulling in. Didn't Microsoft have like that Mixer? I think it was called. They had a Twitch competitor and like lasted all of like 9 months.
Yeah, it's sort of a miracle that Twitch is pulling in Twitch money.
I mean, are they? Are they profitable?
Profitable, not so sure. They are definitely revenuing some money.
Yeah,
but
not the same.
Not the same. Oh yeah, no, turnserver.md. They have documentation about how their turn server works.
Oh
wow!
Install
and set up a turn relay server. Look at that. I'm definitely not running this one. We're not doing this. I've tried that before. It's not easy.
Yeah, the name of the protocol is stun. I mean, they're like. They just come right out and say it. It's gonna hurt.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. This is so thorough, though. This is beautiful. Because I think the last time I attempted to do this, there was not very good documentation on how to run a turn relay server. Because stun is the like peer-to-peer handshake, and then turn is the like failover relay.
Yeah, as an object of study, if nothing else, this is actually really, really interesting. WebRTC, so something I've been chasing forever for my own stuff and for client work is WebRTC is like, I've only ever perceived it really as like video and audio for, Google Meet or whatever, which I think was, or the Google Hangouts, I think was the original implementation. But yeah, it has an entire data channel. Like you could basically do WebSockets
I
but without
suspect that's what it's using, right?
peer-to-peer, yeah. Which and yeah,
Um,
I didn't realize that Video Ninja could also like change settings and do like
yeah.
non-media things, which is super cool.
I imagine that's what they're using. Maybe they got lazy and just have a like socket.io server sitting somewhere too, but I wouldn't be surprised
Yeah,
if
I
you've already
wonder.
gone to the trouble of running a stun turn server. You may as well use the like data channel. Um, and yeah, like I said, so like I can come in here and like set this off, and it should match. I don't know where to find it. Oh, the director has muted you. Look at that. It even
Oh,
tells you.
oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, look at that. Clever.
Oh, and like yeah,
Um,
for the they send you messages. Like that's got to be just going
it's got to be, right?
peer-to-peer or
There's
RTC.
an
Yeah.
entire texting protocol, an entire messaging protocol mailed in here somewhere. um, high quality previews, disable. Oh, and oh, right. I should have done this a while ago. You can disable in the control panel the preview videos, because if I'm looking at this, I don't actually really need to see them updating necessarily. So you like, because like I can come into OBS and see them anyway, and see that everything's working anyway.
Right.
I probably don't need to also render them in that tab.
And that's
Yeah,
just
no,
to spare resources. You do that.
yeah, just spare resources, because this does, if you're doing a lot, start to get a little tricky. I was like, I had some slightly more convoluted demos I was testing last night, and it was like start menu was not super happy. Like to type like open notepad, it was like not enjoying that. So yeah, I mean, granted, I mean, I was like screen sharing and copying things all in one laptop, so it's like kind of inevitable. But I've never really had like a serious performance issue with this setup. Like I said, even doing like live code, like hours long streams with this setup, it's just no problems. Every single time we had a problem, it was like somebody's like what the musician's audio routing. That was always what broke, because routing audio internal to a laptop is
Literally impossible.
unsolvable problem. Apparently.
Merging video streams over the open internet using stable URL, like that's we could do that, but routing
Trivial.
audio we can't do
Forget
it.
it.
There's no way.
Can't be done. But yeah, I think that's it. Are there other questions you guys have?
I mean, it's really cool. I'm amazed at how much of it is persistent. I wouldn't have guessed that like that much just works. It's cool.
Like I said, I mean, I guess if you did get Zoom bombed, you might want to cycle your links or something. But like outside of that, it just works.
I want to know these teenagers going after Video Ninja links.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if it's literally ever happened actually, or if the Video Ninja people just sort of predicted, like they're like, this is gonna happen. We're gonna like catch this one ahead of time. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm amazed honestly at how like I was expecting. Well, I had like some mental model from like having done Skillshares with you all, and I'm amazed at like how closely like it actually maps to that mental model. It's just everyone gets a URL. The URLs don't change. You put the URLs in OBS, and then that's basically the whole the long and short of it. The ability to like adjust. Yeah, I'm looking now in the control panel that we have for this stream. Yeah, the ability to like basically do technical support over RTC and like adjust people's like mic levels and like that's super cool.
Even beyond like support, it's like direct technical control. I could be like, I'm not going to ask you to mute yourself. I'm going to mute you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a button that says yeah. Oh, that's the keyframe. The keyframe thing you were describing. The label for the button is rainbow puke fix.
Rainbow puke fix.
which is.
I mean, it's descriptive. When you see the rainbow puke, you will know what it is.
That's so good. What are all the C1, C2 that says like set audio channel?
I think this is doing, like I said, there's like group scenes and stuff. So like you could have multiple people in sort of separate bubbles that are all part of one big room. I don't really know what the purpose of that is, but it seems to be a feature they care about, is being able to set up group scenes. Yeah, because there's like also, like scene options, add to scene 2, add to scene 1, right? Mute in scenes. and then you've got like these stats for all the scenes. So I think the point is that like if you've got, I guess, yeah, that's probably it, is if you're doing like sort of like a bigger panel discussion where you have like some people on and then some people come in and out, right? So like if, you know, you're doing sort of like a 2-part panel or something, right? And one of the participants overlaps, right? Or 2 of the participants overlap in those panels. You could be like, all right, panel 1, here's all of your links. Panel 2, here's all, or like, here's all of your links. But like those people in the middle don't have to rejoin, right? And you don't have to like be like, okay, get off the call now. Like, please go away. You could just be like, get on whenever, leave whenever. I will take care of it. Like, you don't have to do it at all.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah.
Which
So
again, yeah, if you're running a panel with like a bunch of, I don't know, let's say 60-year-old computer science professors, maybe historically bad at managing projectors and such. So.
Historically bad at computers. Yes.
No offense, I love all my past professors. But,
yeah. No, it's there's also like recording. You can record to a Google Drive or local drive. It's marked as experimental, but that's also
new. I haven't even seen that.
Bonkers.
I guess it's like, oh, I guess it's using the like web codecs on the like controller tab. Like in this tab, it is like collecting all those videos, crunching the numbers, and then just dumping it into a Google Drive.
That's bananas. Yeah, a lot of this is these are like a lot of these are features of Zoom and like pretty clumsily implemented in Zoom, but yeah, you don't have to install anything or
oh, and you can also record remote. You can tell the user's computer to record a copy as well in case their internet's bad.
Yeah, no.
So like if they get cut off in the middle of a sentence and you're gonna like reproduce this later, right?
Right. So they could just send you the file.
Like, oh, we're gonna have the live event now, and then like next week we'll have the like copies up, and then if you had something go really catastrophically wrong, you'd be like, hey, send me that file that you recorded because you sounded awful. You could just do that, and you don't have to ask them to do it. This is good. This is such a like production people control freak kind of program. But I've been there, and I am the production people control freak, and I love having it. So, yeah, no, it's good software. That's all there is to it. Is it's good software.
It's really good.
But yeah, I think that's it for the demo. I don't really have anything else to get into.
Cool. Yeah, that was my first time driving, so we try and share the load at Emma on different things. So I think Gwen, you've driven for the first two Skillshare, so this was my first. Didn't go off without a hitch, but it went off,
you hadn't even gotten the tutorial yet.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm sort of now I could do it, having now driven for the tutorial. But yeah, that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's really cool.
Totally.
I'm gonna.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have to figure out what to do next in a couple of months.
Yeah, I think
That's right, Ramsey. I think you're up. Not that it has to, always go in order, but.
Yeah. I'll be down. Yeah, let's click on that. And then
you've been promising
coroutines.
I've been
coroutines.
I've been threatening coroutines for years. I should make good on that.
I'm using them in my current client project with Sassafras, the captioning project, because it's like, okay, well, I need to like start and stop like, how do you tell a user to pick the end and beginning? It's like, well, I don't want them to sit there and scrub through the timeline. And so it's like, no, just like start, wait till the sentence you want to type is done, end, and then it loops over and over in that little section so that you can like hear it again.
And then you're holding the state of like whether you're stopping or stopping. Yeah. It solves everything.
And when it hits the like end of like, we've added a new thing, it says like, okay, we'll go re-render the list of captions, right? So that they like list updates and all of that.
This is in JavaScript or Lua, or where are you?
JavaScript, yeah. I wish it was in Lua because yeah, the JavaScript coroutines are just a little clunkier.
Yeah.
The one thing, yeah, I mean, I remember looking at coroutines.cool and like the thing I find I am using in coroutines all the time is tying them to like async updates. So like I have one that updates when the button's on click event happens, right? Not like every frame, but just whenever that event is called. And JavaScript makes that really awkward in a way that Lua does not.
Yeah, you have to call .next.
.next, and so I just like wrote a function that just like wraps that whole thing and gives you the function to call. Lua has one called .wrap.
Yeah. No, the lower level, the try finally that you have in JavaScript and C# is kind of, it's, you only need it 10% of the time, but that 10% of the time is like absolutely make or break. And that's a language level thing you kind of, I haven't found a way to reproduce in Lua or Rust. But yeah, no, to say this on YouTube, that's legally binding. So I'll have
yeah,
to be careful,
there's on thread of Google's ad engine finding you somehow.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't want our channel to get demonetized. So,
the AI is gonna wake up and be like, I really want to know about this coroutines.
That's our Skynet moment. I'd totally be down to do that. That'll also sort of force me to get my like plots in order and like get it all down. So that might be what's next.
Great.
Cool,
y'all. This was great. Thank you so much, Gwen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. See you around.
Yeah, thank you, Gwen.
Bye.
Bye.